you will notice that the 24-25 budget is the budget that we are currently operating out of right now. That is the budget that the police department is operating out of. The yellow is maintaining current level of service with 7 Graceville police officers and a 3% cost of living. Please understand that the city of Graceville, not just for police department, but for all employees, pays into the Florida retirement system. And the current rate for special risk, which is what police officers, all police officers fall under, is 35.19%. I tell y'all that so that we all understand that even at a 3%, a 9%, whatever the number is, there are other budgetary items that are affected by that number, because that is an increase from previous FRS, Florida Retirement System contributions. The yellow option, which again is the 3%, holding us at 7 officers, classified officers. The budget impact is an increase of $58,681.79. We then move to the 9% proposed rate, which again is 9%. Staffing level remains at 7. Of course, Florida retirement. The budget impact is an increase of $86,610.21.
94.
If you move to the red highlighted
94.
cost of living, we currently have
94. Call my phone or 15, please. Follow up for the property information. That's
Sample.
hold off.
Copy.
I'm gonna give me color back.
The last
Color
option
back.
is the so, you know, the reason that we're here tonight is from a management standpoint, a 9% raise is not something that, as a general management, should not be rubber stamping that. That needs public input, that needs commission input. It affects an overall budget, and it's something that needs to be discussed and discussed publicly. So that is the genesis of why we're here, how we got here, and where we're headed. Do you have any other questions?
No. I have a question. So, not a question, a comment. So I think it's important to emphasize why we're doing this, when we're doing this. We've not started the budget process where you normally would do this, but this request has been brought to us, and with an increase of this size, which was already extremely costly, we needed to put much thought into what we can do in order to provide safety and security for citizenry of this city. So I know Michelle was urged and rose to the task of putting these numbers together. I think it's also important, Michelle, that you and I've talked about this. It's also important that this is having to do with the employ of policemen. This is not including new vehicles and other things. And I think that there are some things not been charged on this that, you know, some insurance costs that are tied to this too. So actually, in my studying of this, it's higher than each one of these. If you add the vehicles in there, it's going to show a market increase there if we equip the department as it needs to be equipped, and it gets to be expensive. So we look for alternatives. One of the alternatives that Michelle has mentioned, and when I say we, I'm talking about my discussion has been only with Michelle, because I can't discuss anything with any of the rest of these board members. But if you look at reducing positions, and you reduce down to 5, and you look at trying to keep an officer here covering 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you use up those guys. So what we've got to do is we've got to come up with an alternative, and we have talked to the sheriff's department. I know you'll talk about that maybe in a little bit. We've talked to the sheriff about what his responsibility is as far as law enforcement and what we can do. But you're looking at a situation, in my opinion, where when a man or a woman is in law enforcement, they put their life on the line. And they need to be paid for this. But the light that was shined to me as I've been a new city councilman is the fact that I didn't realize that this hazardous retirement is as high as it is. And it's a large part of a salary. So when that salary comes out, what they take home is not nearly what it costs us and what it costs you as a citizen that pays taxes.
112, 113, be advised, upgrading at 208. By 360, make contact, one of the juveniles. You can just for units. I noticed airbags going off.
This is coming out of the budget here, and it's costly, and it's taking away from, it's gonna take away when we do this. So we look like it looks like that we've got to do something to offer an alternative to the costs that we're incurring. Now, those employees, they need to be paid. All of our employees need to be paid. Policemen especially, they put their life on the line. And I was in school politics for years, and my goal was always to make sure that we paid our teachers more than anybody else around. I strove to, if that's such a word, I worked to do that. And I would want to do that here and doing the same thing. But there gets to be a point that you have to you have to look at alternatives, and we have to be smart. There's some of us that want to do things differently, and then there's some in the community that want to that want to keep things the way they've been for the last 100 years. So I think that this meeting was called to bring data to us so that we can speak about it together. We can hear some public comment. We'll hear more public comment later. We're not coming here trying to even, if you look at the media pages, it makes us all look like that we're trying to do something. That's not the case. That is not the case. I didn't mean to interrupt so long.
Okay, that's fine. And to Dr. Nichols' point, I do think that we should address the fact that this meeting was publicly advertised in the Graceville News last week as per state requirement. Special meetings really don't even have to be posted or advertised for that long, but we felt like it was something that the community needed to be involved in. And so we put it in the newspaper, and it was advertised, and I think that's one of the reasons that we've got a lot of people here tonight. And let's talk about this, because that's the spirit of what we're here for.
Any other commissioner got Jake, back there. Jake, can you get up here and explain to us, out of the last 4 years, what can you do to kind of improve Graceville for the next however long you're gonna be here or whatever?
I'm not sure I could call it all that, but just to lay things out, I didn't just go to the city manager and ask for a raise for everybody just willy-nilly. Over the past few years, the state has been subsidizing the local sheriff's offices around the area, in the Panhandle, and the whole state for that matter, and increasing their pay and providing them with bonuses to try to help recruit people
That
into
POV and
law
route
enforcement. Our
POV.
recruitment in law enforcement over the past decade has seen a low.
Copy that.
With those increases, they didn't.
That plays in route POV.
So municipalities have been having to come up with their own way to find funding and everything to increase their budgets. Places around here like Chipley, Bonifay, they've increased their starting salaries at $47,700. Ours is at $39,000. I've had these two vacancies. I haven't been fully staffed in over a year because I just don't have people coming in and applying. Our take-home car policy, for instance, is 5 miles.
11381.
Everyone else's is 25 miles and greater. I'm not trying to increase any of that. I'm just trying to get us competitive and help maintain some retention of the officers that we got now. Currently, as it stands, my officers make less in the starting pay than most all these other agencies. I'm not saying that other city employees don't deserve a pay increase, but they don't carry a gun, they ain't working 24/7 like us. They don't work holidays and weekends all the time either. It's not apples and apples when you compare us to other workers. Our retirement is higher because we're high risk. We tote a gun 24/7. We deal with things that are emotionally and physically straining on us. Like I said, I just wanted to lay this out for you. If the money's not there, you know, we can't make it there. It is what it is. But it's my duty.
Fast Tanker 1, 19 Tanker 1 en route.
To try to do something for my guys.
Copy,
to help
station
maintain
10 Tanker 1.
the level of service that the citizens need to have.
Jack, let me ask you,
Fast 10 arriving on scene.
we need 7 officers more?
I'm sorry?
Why do we need 7 officers?
Copy that.
That's been the number
561.
forever. I mean, since I've started here.
3 to 10.
11, that's been our number. You need that, you don't need, if you cut it down,
Go ahead.
you have somebody go out, especially during.
Which side of the generators alone?
If we had somebody.
It's going to be going back towards Bob. I'm trying to get a new
Somebody
mirror.
calls in, well, we're just gonna be digging a little extra with somebody else. We got to have somebody to fill that slot.
The drive around the city, it take what, about an hour?
Yeah,
Okay, what happened after that? I mean, after you do that, what do y'all do in purpose to do? I mean, you come back to the office, you write out a report, what do you do after you do all that?
if they're not on a call, they should be either sitting at an intersection watching traffic, or they constantly patrol. You gotta be proactive. If you're not being seen, you're not being proactive.
Okay, so how many we need a day here? Working a day? How many, deputies do you need a day?
I mean, we usually have one patrol officer patrolling daytime and nighttime.
Okay. And your job?
And we work 12-hour shifts.
Okay, your job is to do what?
Mine is administrative.
You don't get out and ride nothing?
I do get out and ride. I answer calls also. But I'm inside, I've got a pile of stuff inside that I'm required to handle by FDLE. But yes, sir, I do. In fact, tomorrow I'll be covering a 12-hour shift, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And y'all got anything to answer?
Let's go get into public comment yet. Let's, can we talk about some more things too? Do you have anything else that you want?
I think it's important that we all understand that this is not a gotcha meeting. This is not a situation where, anybody's casting aspirations or, indicting anyone for job performance. But it is a meeting that is important because we as an administrative staff, just like Jake said, he didn't willy-nilly propose the 9%, and by the same token, administrative staff can't willy-nilly approve a 9% increase in pay. And so I think that's, I think that we can mutually agree that, there's a due diligence that all of us have to do when we're talking about a pay increase of this magnitude, just across the board and for a whole department.
And when you're looking at a 9%, and the problem is that if you bring, I understand your problem by bringing in new officers and being able to retain them, because as soon as you get them here, you get them all dressed up, vested up, and they look good, and they start doing good, other people see them.
Oh, yeah.
And these other cities are going, they can offer them more money, and they can because they're bigger. And then you constantly train, and then you have to bring a new force in, and then they're going everywhere else across the world. But it just, when you do that, you may jump somebody who's been here already. They may make more than, so I can understand why you ask for, that kind of money. I totally understand that. But what I don't understand is that, we're looking at, if we did that, we're looking at keeping 7 people, we're looking at $800,000, and then you add $100,000 worth of cars on there, then you look at some of the insurance that's billed back to this, that's not in this budget right now, you're pushing close to $1 million. And that's just the way it is. And that's a lot of money. So when I look at that, and say, well, what is our option? I talked to the sheriff, and I said, what do we do if we didn't have it? He said, I'm gonna take care of it. And my first question to him is, how are you gonna do that? Well, we'll have somebody in the area. I said, well, that's not good enough for me. That's not good enough. And he said, well, we could talk about that. He said, I understand. He does not want to get in the middle of this politics until we get it situated where we can afford it. And then we can negotiate. But I did ask him, is it possible that we have dedicated deputies here? Even if they cover in just the night shift, can they stay? And he said, yeah, it's gonna cost us. And that's why we went ahead right here. That's why this is listed, in green, with the sheriff's department taking over this, with money put toward an officer. They make more money. So we could potentially have the same officers here covering, and they could make more money. You don't have the administrative side of this from when I say administrative, I mean the police administrative side. And you could have more officers here and have it covered. 4 officers, it wouldn't have to be the same 4 officers. 4 spots would fill this for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And there are other officers in this area, but if we were paying for having permanent coverage here for somebody that stayed here, then we're looking at being able, they can draw other people in to us in case something happens. And also, remember, we do have two policemen, 2 sheriff deputies that are at school all the time. It's sad that it has to be that way, and they have to be dedicated. That just goes into the cost of all the taxations from the state. And I've been involved in decision making in that. It's hard, and I know it costs a lot of money. So, and again, this is coming out of our local tax money that each and every one of us are paying in property tax. And so understand that. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It makes more sense to me, and I've studied these numbers. It makes more sense to me to be able to have one administration with the sheriff's department handling the administration and doing away with the police department as we know it and having coverage that would be administered by the sheriff's department. It makes more sense. It's a whole lot more cost effective, and we can demand that the quality be there. We can work with the sheriff. So, we can beat around the bush all day long. I don't mind saying it. I'm not here to play. I didn't take this job. Y'all decide you don't want me here, that's fine. I'm gonna say what's on my mind, and I know that there are people out there that don't agree with me. I know that there's some that do. But I'm telling you, if you look at this the smart way, we can't afford to do it. And if we water it down, then we're not gonna have near the quality that we currently have. So, and having a split administration, one here at night and one here during the day, and something happens, how's that gonna work? I just don't see that can be smooth. And again, I think this commission would do everything that we could do to try to be fair to employees, and they could make more money and have the same benefit, better benefits than they have here. So I've said my piece on that, and I'll hush.
Okay, is Jake still here?
Jake?
Okay, now, how long you say you've been having 5 officers?
We've had 5 for about a month. We've had, 6 for about a year.
So how's that been working for you?
It's been kind of strenuous. 6 is doable.
Because what I'm saying, I'm looking at the 2 options that kind of catch my, really the main one is the red one. And the reason why I said that, because if we let the county take from 11 to 7 at night, and to me, that right there work. And see, this right here could be something until we can study it and not make no drastic decision about what we can do later on. But we can always come back and change it, like go a year and go come back to revisit this. That's the way I look at this.
Yes.
Because I've been getting a lot of phone calls about this, just getting rid of the police department altogether. And they were saying that's not kosher. And so we wanna do what the people really, want and stuff. And then at the same time, do what the people want, but then do what's best for the city. Sometimes, that may not work together, but sometimes what the people want might not be what's best for the city. So, I think that it'll be, a good thing to kind of look at the red and see if it's viable. And if it's not, then we can, try to take another route, because, like I said, if we go and have the county take from 11 to 7, and that means that we have 5 officers, but a freeze on the officers, so that, so we can kind of keep our budget intact. So, that's what I'm kind of looking at, but, we don't have to make no decision tonight or nothing like that, but any other commissioner got anything to say?
Yeah, looking at it, if we can't do the 9% that you're asking for, what y'all asking for, and if we stay with like just the 5 officers and have the, sheriff come in from 11 to 7, and we could give you, if we, is in the budget, you could get a raise up to maybe 5%, that'd be suitable, along with all the other expenses that the city been taking on.
At this point, if we keep our job, it's suitable to me.
Well, I mean, I have no problem, I want you to keep your job.
Exactly.
But we need the police here, we don't need this, we need sheriff when certain things happen, but we definitely need our local officers here. And I'm all for making sure the local officers here, because a lot of times the sheriff be down in Compass Lake or somewhere else, and they're gonna take a long time to get here. So personally, my feeling, I hope most of the people feel like that, we want y'all to stay. We don't wanna get rid of y'all. We wanna try to work with y'all, make sure we can satisfy everybody's needs, because we definitely need our local police officer here. So we got elders here, we have, stores, banks, a lot of shooting going on lately around here, and we definitely need police. And the citizens need to be safe. And that's what y'all voted us up here for, to make sure that the people of Graceville be safe. They want to be free to go outside at night, to take a little night walk, be nice and cool at nighttime. You should not feel threatened in your city. And without the police, you gonna get all kind of people coming trying to do whatever. So my opinion, I want y'all to stay, and I love to get with citizens what they want to do. But if y'all need a break, I understand. I was in the military, so I know how hazardous it is. So definitely, if we can somehow find, if we could bump y'all races up, but I don't think it'll be 9%, but we want to do everything we can to keep y'all here. And like I said, we definitely need y'all. And I've been getting comments, good and bad, but mostly good. And we definitely want y'all to stay. And we need to work with y'all to meet y'all needs. I understand we do lose a lot of officers when somebody paying more. Because people gonna go where the money is. But as long as y'all stay loyal, then we should be loyal to y'all.
Thank you.
Only problem I see with that on the red is that that's a $650,000 number. The numbers may work out, but then you're not looking at a dedicated deputy being here around the clock from 11 to 7. You're looking at sheriff sheriff department coverage, but it's the in and out coverage, it's not a completely dedicated coverage. Unless we go, unless we go with, paying for it. So if you wanna add $100,000 to that, then you're back up to the same thing with five policemen, with a 3%, adjustment, and, not having two other positions, but then you've got the position that the sheriff department provided, so you're not really saving any money there. It's not a savings, you're back to the same thing, if you pay to dedicate, it's basically gonna cost just short of $100,000 to dedicate an officer here from the sheriff's department the whole time. But those numbers won't work out. It comes back to the numbers, and you can't pull a rabbit out of the hat with a city the size, it seems like we ought to have any money to do anything that we wanna do, but we don't. We don't, and it's just not, the funds are just not there to be able to do this. And this is not a one-time thing, this is not something we're doing for 3 months. This is something that we're doing for this whole next tax year. And then next year it'll be the same thing, and it'll be the same thing, only nothing ever goes down. So we're at a crossroads, and it's time to really seriously look at this and figure out what's best for the city. If there's savings there, I see positives about the police department, see negatives about the police department, and you can look on social media, but one thing that we're getting dinged on is that we need economic development. This would free up money for the economic development, and then we could get to the point that we could go back and have that. But right now, we can't afford that. We've got to work together to be able to bring this stuff forward. That's another discussion, but that's just one idea, one avenue that we could go down to be able to fund something else. We're not gonna have any money to fund that if we try to fund this as it's being presented. So, again, we've got time to think about this, and we've got time before we do the budget. We've got time to think about this.
So now, but the county, they'll watch over the city, that's free, right?
Well, if you don't enter into a level of service agreement, which is the $100,000 per officer, if you do not enter into the level of service agreement, basically whatever deputy is in the area is who responds.
What's the average response time?
With a level of service agreement, you are guaranteed coverage in the city because you're basically paying for it. So did that answer that question?
Yes, and also, a lot of small towns, from what I've been observing, they are getting rid of police departments. But, I'm not saying that's what we need to do, but I'm just saying that's what a lot of people have been doing. And they've been going to like having county watch over some. So, I don't know where the city of Graceville gonna go with this. And that's really not just my decision, it's all about the city.
I've got a question, buddy. Let's just hypothetically say, you give us a report each month, and it gives us the total number of calls and what those calls were for. Let's say there's 400 calls 1 month, which is kind of in between, sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher. What percent would you put on those calls that are prior to the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.? If that makes any sense. Do you have a lot of calls at night, or most of them during the daytime?
Your peak time is between about 5 p.m. and midnight.
All right.
Your peak time for calls. And when I say call, I mean when we are responding to people calling in or a disturbance or something like that. It's when people get home and before they go to bed. Most of our calls after that point are extra patrol, business checks, that sort of thing.
All right, you had mentioned that you'd be thankful just to keep your job, appreciate that. You also said 6. Can you make it work with 5?
if we do the 11 to 7, absolutely, we can make it work with 5.
Thank you.
I would like to clarify something just for the public, because we've been talking about, you know, the fact that sheriff's departments are able to pay their people, a higher rate of pay than we are. The same goes for state law enforcement agencies. And, basically the genesis of that movement, and Jake alluded to this, but kind of allow us to clarify for, the audience, how that happened and why that happened. The state legislature came in, and Jake, please interject at any point if you got anything to add. State legislature came in and, you know, with urging from the governor, they passed a funding initiative to increase the rate of pay for state law enforcement officers. And according to state legislation, every county in the state of Florida is required to have a sheriff's department. And so, they also included the funding to, you know, enhance, deputy sheriff's salaries in that funding initiative from the state. And so what that basically did was that allowed sheriff's departments and state law enforcement agencies to, you know, start their applicants at a higher rate of pay. And to some degree, it's made it very difficult for us on a real grassroots level to be able to effectively compete with that, because no community is required to have a police department. A police department has to be funded from general revenues and revenues from the city in order for it to exist. And so that is why when Jake said that municipalities did not receive that incentive pay and initiative pay, no city police department did. Only state law enforcement agencies and sheriff's departments got that funding from the state.
So can I add one thing that's very similar to that? It doesn't have to do with payroll, but, when someone breaks into a computer, whether it's Russia or whomever, there needs to be a firewall there that takes control, and it has to be of utmost strength. Well, you don't think about that in a little place like Graceville, but it's mandated, from what I understand, it's mandated that we have that firewall. Sheriff's Department has to have that firewall, it's based on size, but it's something that's costing multi-$1,000s. Am I wrong, Michelle?
That is correct, and you will notice that in the budget, there's a telephone line item that seems an exorbitant cost, and that's because it is. We're basically required to run off of fiber optic services, and in addition to that, FDLE determines what your firewall requirements are. And you will comply with those or you will not operate.
And all the sheriff's departments get funded for this, but we don't.
Okay, I was not really aware of that, but I know that we do not get funded for that. We get to pay for that. And, you know, there is some discussion about some legislation that passed in this recent legislative session that is going to enhance these firewall requirements even further than what we are having to run right now. Because in the Panhandle, an agency, it was not the city of Graceville, it was not even in Jackson County, an agency basically got pirated, and it was a really bad, unfortunate situation. And so that's caused some regulations as it relates to these firewalls and cybersecurity that's very costly. It is a cost of doing business, and one that we do not have control over. And just as another note on dues and subscriptions, you know, there've been, and y'all even mentioned it to me, that you felt like that was a high number. You know, the reason that number is required, again, state legislation requires our officers to have body cam. That body cam footage has to be stored. We have to pay for those services. you know, we have to pay for that equipment, which is, you know, certainly reasonable because it has to meet certain specifications and requirements. And in addition to that, Jake has worked on a standard operating procedure, bringing the department standard operating procedure, kind of into this newer world where we're addressing cybersecurity and we're addressing all of these issues. And there's a cost as it relates to that, because I often say that's a living, breathing document. When there are legislative changes that have to be implemented into that standard operating procedure, Lexipol is the company that we contract with to update our standard operating procedure with all state and federal mandated changes and requirements. And so, you know, there's a lot of unusual things as it relates to operating as a law enforcement agency that are just required. They're just the cost of doing business, not just for a city police department, but a sheriff's department.
Yeah, Frank,
What's up with?
yeah, let me have your intake on this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've listened to this conversation and everybody is making the point I started to say on both sides, but there's really not a side of this. We're all on the same side, and that's the city of Graceville.
Right.
And, you know, since I can remember, when I first came here, started working for the city, Bruce Ward was the chief. We've had several chiefs since then. But it's always a struggle to finance the police department. And this isn't unique to Graceville now. I mean, all the other small municipalities I represented are the same way. It's just a struggle. You had to do away with other things to pay police officers. So it boils down to this. Do you want to cut back on streets, water, sewers, cemetery, all the things the city does, take money away from those things and put them in the police department? That's what it boils down to. And that's a tough decision to make. It really is. I mean, the city of Graceville operates very lean. We don't have extra employees in any department, employees that aren't needed. They're all needed, and they all work and try to do a good job. So, this problem is not unique to the city of Graceville. And in my opinion, small town police forces are within the past. I hate to say that, I'm not a police officer, but you know, I have a lot of friends who are police officers that work in different departments, highway patrol, state, city, county. They do a great job, provide a great service. Bottom line is you gotta pay for it. If you don't have the money to pay for it, you just can't pay for it. You can't have it.
Are there any examples of these small police departments that have disbanded? Because I don't think anybody's familiar with police departments being disbanded.
Yeah, they've cut back.
Are there any examples that can be given of these departments?
Sneed just refused it.
Yeah, Sneed's cut back, Cottondale's cut back.
Sneed refused to go with the county.
And look, I'm talking about representing cities for 47 years before you were born.
No, not for us.
Funding police departments is a difficult thing for a small municipality like Graceville with an extremely limited tax base.
Well, why does the city not apply for grants from the state?
You don't want your property taxes to go up to pay for this. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. The commission doesn't want to do that.
Well, I asked that because I've heard multiple of y'all saying that, you know, police departments are becoming a thing of the past, and
I didn't say that. So,
you literally just said
You
that.
just
I've
said
got
that.
it recorded.
It's on camera. Well, why does the city not apply for grants? You said this has been an issue for certain times and no one has actually brought it up. So why does the city not apply for grants when the county actually does? The county applies for body cams, there's uniform grants, there's all kinds of equipment grants that can be used for officers, especially on duty. So why does Graceville not do the same thing?
Everybody out there is gonna have an opportunity to make comments and ask questions.
Okay, thank you.
We don't need to talk out of order, talk over each other, interrupt each other. Look, we're all here for the same thing. I wish we got enough money to increase the size of the police department. but it ain't there. And you don't have to be a CPA to figure that out. It's just not there. I see several business people sitting in this room. When the money's not there, what do? You cut back. You sure don't
You don't cut
increase.
back on protection,
And most people
peace of
cut
mind,
back.
safety and security.
So,
That's the last thing you cut.
I don't know, it's just not, there's no easy answer to this, Walter. You know, there's been some options put forth that seem to be workable. How long they work, I don't know. I just don't know. But, you know, it's the commission's decision. And Michelle said, this is not a personality thing, it's not a attack somebody thing, this is strictly the budget. And she did the right thing. Jake came in and said, we want a 9% increase. You don't have the authority to do anybody a 9% increase. And that's why we're here, to get commission input, and I'm sure the commission wants some input from the citizens. But this is not, there's no easy answer to this, is what I'm saying. It's just not easy. You can't have it all, you're gonna have to do away with something if you do what Jake's asking us to do. So whose job are you gonna do away with? I don't wanna make that decision.
So before we go to citizens, come together.
And just want to make one other comment. We also, part of those numbers that may be hard to understand is that we do pay the sheriff's department $30,000 a year for dispatch. They already do 100% of the dispatch. And that has been downsized through the years. I think that happened when Chief Horton was chief. That's also a cost that wouldn't recur. That would be, under their realm. But we're doing this as a pre-exercise for our budget, which we set millage for property tax. And I guarantee you, if you poll this crew, nobody here wants to raise millage.
And you will not be able to afford what Jake's asking you to do
Even if you
unless
did.
you raise property
Yeah,
tax.
and still
If
probably.
you raise them enough to do that, these folks right here are gonna run y'all out of town.
That's right.
That's gonna happen.
Well, I'm gonna get over there and talk back to it. Because I like paying.
You pay taxes.
Okay, how many comments from the citizens at this
You can
time?
afford it.
Any public input?
What?
Any comments?
Do I have to come up here?
Yes, come up here,
I just wanna say, just because they ask for a 9% raise, doesn't mean they have to get a 9% raise. All you have to do is say, no, we're gonna do a 3% raise across the board. You know, everybody's getting a 3% raise. That doesn't mean you have to go in there. Heck, when I was at BF, I don't like the 9% raise too, but I didn't get it, I got a 3% every year. That was cost of living raise, 3%. But you're talking about hiring 4 officers for $400,000. That's not a whole lot. When you talking about this budget right here, you talking about like $66,000 for medical insurance. Can we not get that cheaper than that? We may have to go out of town, but you got it over here at Corbett's. There's no place that can do medical insurance cheaper than $66 for 7 people. And supposedly we haven't even had 7 people this year. So this budget's really not correct if we have not had 7 people. We've only had 5 or 6.
But that's because in the budget. Don't put
Yeah,
in the budget.
but what I'm saying though, but we haven't spent that much. You know, and I know, you know, you explained the telephone thing about you explained that one. But like, but you know, I just think there's some of these things that we could cut back on as well as all the departments, not just the police department. I know it's the main one, but I hate to see us lose what we've got. No, do I agree with everything the police department does? No, but I know they're here if we need them. And you've got a lot of old widows in this town that depend on these men and women if there's any. And it's just a shame for us to lose this. But you're talking about giving the county, paying the county $400,000 and you've got to sign a contract for 5 years. 5 years, $400,000. It's right here. It's right here. 5-year contract. Well, this right here says 5-year contract.
No, that's the body cam contract. That's the body
Oh,
cam.
okay. Well, anyway, you're saying $400,000, and that's,
It doesn't have to be. We don't have to pay a dime. We won't have dedicated service that stays here if we don't pay it. We don't have to
well,
pay
what I'm
anything.
saying is you're paying
You can have
400.
almost $1 million more.
We're paying $400,000 for 4 officers, when we're only paying the salary as that goes for 300 something for 7. Yes, we've got other expenses, but some of these could be cut down, just like the insurance.
These wouldn't be the same 4 officers either. It would be maintained coverage.
Right. It's going on where they got, and just like these just declined all this, because they said they would have 2 officers 24/7, but if they got called out in the county, they would have to go. I seen the paperwork.
Now they gotta pay for it.
Right. But see, Steve refused it and stayed with their police department.
They gotta pay for it now.
Well,
It's time to pay.
well, and like I said, I believe there's some things that could be
Thank you for
grant
coming.
wise.
Anybody else got comments?
I have a question.
I do. I'm an old
We're
lady.
gonna have 4 people representing, yeah, we're banking on the sheriff's department, and 4 people are gonna do the job of 7. I don't understand the logistics there. All right, the other question is we're talking about the sheriff's department. We don't have contractual agreement with anybody. So, we're talking about what's gonna be what, but we need to know for sure, we need to see it in writing, what they're gonna offer us. If we're gonna go, we need that. You're talking about, they gonna do this, they gonna do this, they gonna do this. Have you negotiated the contract?
Can't do that until you.
All right, we need to know what they actually are offering and have it in down in writing to see what's going on.
Okay, I'm old. I live by myself. I live on White Avenue. Not long ago, my security alarm went off. In 5 minutes, one of these policemen were at my house to check on me. I want to know if it changes. Would that same people be there in 5 minutes like they did?
Yeah. What would be the average response time?
30 minutes or 5 minutes.
I'd like to add to that. April 10th, 2024, I was burned alive. Graceville Police Department saved me, and the fire department saved me from a brush fire that outraged. My wife, who works for the sheriff's office, was near Fountain on the Bay County line. Due to limited manpower and nobody working who called out, minus 4 people that called out that same day, traveling over 100 miles an hour with emergency lights on and going, it took her 55 minutes to get to me. I had a 5-month-old in my kitchen, and I was on fire on the side of the road, waving for help. If the Graceville Police Department was not here, I wouldn't be standing here today. So, taking them away, the chief of police came out, the fire lieutenant came out. I had everybody in Graceville. I had the town come out to Sasquatch Acres Ranch, the livestock rescue on Highway 2, come out to my house to make sure that I was safe. My wife just pulled in the driveway, and I was being ambulanced to the chopper at the Civic Center to be flown to Tallahassee, then bused to Gainesville. And the moment that she got in her car to drive to Tallahassee, the sheriff's department themselves asked her if she was going to complete her shift. Now, I want to repeat that. They called and asked her to finish her shift until 6 a.m. the next day while I'm being airlifted. So what does that tell you? That Graceville Police Department actually cares about their deputies and officers. They were here to protect and serve and make sure that me, as a service veteran, still currently serving, and making sure that my family was safe. They escorted her immediately to Tallahassee. They made sure that she was going to be okay. They came to her every single day. How's your husband doing? Is he okay? Is he going to survive? Yes, yes, yes. They took care of it. You know what the county did? Nothing. Didn't even phone call. Didn't even come up and look at me or see me. When I came home, I had a parade of people at my house, thanking to God that I was still alive. I'll even add a note to that. You wanted to know how much the sheriff's department is actually manned. They are 30% manned. 30. Their response time is 30 minutes or more, depending on the call volume. We were in North Carolina helping the people that were under the hurricane, rescuing animals and bringing them back. My house got burglarized. Within 10 minutes, 2 officers from Graceville rushed over to my house as I'm looking in the mountains on my camera, the dude walking in my house. They were able to stop him, find him, and arrest him. The sheriff's office showed up an hour and 30 minutes later to take a report and decided to do it the next following day. So what does that tell you? You need a department here. You take the department away, there's gonna be a fight at the auction. Someone's gonna steal something from Family Dollar. Hell, they could burn something for all that matters.
Anyone else?
Apply for grants. The city can apply for grants. Anybody can apply for grants. The county does it, you do it, especially for your equipment. You're talking about new equipment. You've got cars from Leon County that have been sitting. You can utilize those. Grants.
I've got a couple of questions. The first question I want to ask is, I'm looking at the red column, okay? You said there'll be 2 positions at night, right? No. Explain red to me.
2 positions to be cut. Now it's currently 7. It would be cutting them down to 5, which is the current force right now.
Right.
That's giving a 3% increase, 2 positions. So if you only had 5 people, you can't keep somebody covering 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These guys are gonna be worked, and then what that does is it frees up the department so that somebody else has to take care of the 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the
Okay.
morning.
And you said that's
So
when the
sheriff's
county will come
department
in.
would handle that.
Okay,
He said
okay,
that he would do that.
okay, but let me ask that question
But you can't
then.
dedicate.
Right,
Now, over in the green column,
right,
talk
I
about
got
not
that.
having coverage, you have coverage.
Okay, so we're
If we
saying
You're taking her time.
during the night, when Jackson County is supposed to be covering for us, it's gonna take 30 minutes to get to me, right?
No,
Minimum.
At night,
Uh-huh.
Depending
They'll
on call
be,
volume.
okay, depending, they'll be here in our town.
Maybe. It's
All
around
night
there.
long.
In the green column.
No, the red
The
column,
red column, no, not necessarily.
that's exactly right.
Unless we add another $100,000.
Right.
We pay them.
Do y'all know how many times, and I know, y'all know, and I know her too, my mother fell, and how many times that little thing went off around her neck? I can't even begin to tell you, but I guarantee you Elton can tell you. And Graceville Police Department was there within 5-10 minutes when I couldn't get there. Do you have any idea how many times? And did they say a word about it? No, they did not. You know, I knew I could go out of town, I could do this, I could do that. And I knew if my mother fell in the middle of the floor, there was gonna be somebody with the Graceville Police Department at her house, if that happened. Well, let Miss Henderson fall. She could die within 30 minutes before somebody gets to her, right? Right? Yes.
According to what column you're talking about. On the
I'm
red
talking
column,
about the
yeah.
red.
On the red column.
I'm talking about the
There won't
red.
be
She
any
gets up
difference.
at nighttime,
There won't be any
she
difference.
walks to her bathroom, and
You have
she
dedicated-
falls.
If you have dedicated,
But that's not what's gonna happen, Terry. They're not gonna be here.
green column, they will. In the green column, he will hire extra people. That's what we would be funding. He would hire
Well,
the people
I'm
that
looking
work
at the
here.
red because I'm
These people can make more
looking at the
money
red.
than there.
But, and I got one more question. When's the last time the police department got a raise? Got a raise in their pocket, took it home. When's the last time?
From 2021 to 2024, we have attempted to do some salary adjustments.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm not
They
asking for
have received,
attempts.
they have received 15 to 18% since 2021.
Total from then till now?
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about cutting back. I'm like Becky, why can't we cut back in other departments?
That's a lie.
Why does it oh, that's a lie, somebody said. Anyway, why can't we cut back in other departments rather than police department? That is our safety. That's our security. That's where people, we depend, these old people depend on that. There's other departments that can be cut back on that these old people don't depend on. teach school, and if we have too many teachers, they get cut.
Just so our representative, Brett Slumber Graceville. And certainly I would have quality of response and having someone here. We run a big operation, a lot of employees, a lot of things happen. In my history there in the last 19 years, Graceville Police responded anytime we've had something. When I've had to call the deputies, it takes a while. So that's our biggest concern is quality of coverage. We like it in Graceville Police Department.
My question is, if you're going to incorporate into the county, okay, we're getting two police officers. My question is, we all know what's going on out in the world with these crazies with their guns. One police officer, you will be sent over to that school while we wait for homes.
I mean, there's currently 2 sheriff's department deputies that are resource officers at the school.
No.
I know one in the school.
There's one.
There's one. They fired the other one.
So now you're sending 2.
All right, so this
He's
is.
dedicated
we're not-
to the
We're not
school, right?
funding that, okay? We're not, doesn't have anything to do with the city. This column we're talking about, if you keep a dedicated police deputy, you keep somebody here around the clock, that equates to 4 positions. It won't be the same 4 people because 4 people can't cover it. 5 people can't cover it. That's why we got to look at, other options. But 4 people is what it would cost, and it would allow the sheriff's department to hire 4 people, 4 more people. That's the idea. That's why we would, that's the idea of coming up with this plan, so that we're funding that. But what we wouldn't have to fund is we wouldn't have to fund, like Jake said, when he's over there doing a mountain of paperwork, and he didn't have time to get out and go and do things, then we're not funding that, because they already have people that do that. We don't have to have another one in the chain of command to do that, because they're there, they're doing that. You would be looking at just the boots on the ground that's covering the area. So it's, and you won't only just have one, because you have an overflow. The sheriff's department covers this area, they cover this area pretty good. I mean, they can't stay here, but again, that's a funding issue as well. But if we help fund this, it would help the county, it would help us, because it would free them up to be able to go other places, because they know this is covered, they've got somebody here. And if something happens, the cooperation to be able to get somebody here, Hamilton has like the kind of coverage that this red line would have. They don't have coverage 24 hours a day, but they have somebody that can get to them. And they keep somebody on this side. They've got it all graphed out. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking with them. But we can't come up with a plan until we know what we're gonna do budget-wise, and what we can recommend. That's why we're just trying to gather information and hear you. We're not trying to be a bad guy, but you're gonna be a bad guy in somebody's eyes. And,
I just feel that with, people from the outside outlying counties, we have to wait on them to respond here. All right, we're gonna be losing lives. Is it worth it?
I don't think we can count on other
We
counties.
need to figure out,
That's the
I
problem.
see what you're talking about.
we need to figure out on how to work this out. And I don't care if it's going to the entire township budget. I'm not just talking police department, I'm talking everything. I wonder how much money has been put out on those roads, and I hope it's been state money.
Go ahead.
talked to other people in law enforcement that's worked in this area in investigative undercover situations for many, many years. And they said this area is like no action. So people that love action, that go to patrol school or however they do, they start somewhere. Eventually they wanna go to the county, maybe it's more action, maybe it's more chases. Maybe their big goal is to be with FHP or be a warden, I mean, I don't know. So I'm not convinced that we have a problem with retention. We may have, inaction, we may have roadblocks, we may have cherry picking, we may have all kind of issues, we don't know. So unless you talk to other officers as to why they leave, is it really benefits, is it really incentives? I have enough sense to know that if I work in Michelle's job, I would look at salary and say, well, I can live in sleepy little Mayberry, Graceville. Or I can just go to Birmingham and make some big bucks, but look at the cost of living there. So anybody that applies here should have the common sense to know, this department is not gonna pay what a higher scale or security on the beach. That's why a lot of Bonifay and Shipley, cops go down to security during spring break. People like to go work security at the bingo. So nobody's going broke. I mean, people are surviving. So I don't think that's the whole point. Is somebody asking for a raise? Sure. If we can't afford it, don't do it. If we need to increase revenue, push that code enforcement. Let's start finding people. Let's read code. Let's read the charter. Let's make the police department do more stuff than just sitting around with their elbow out the window talking to their buddies. 11 to 2 is when crimes happen. I am a victim. I've had to buy cameras, buy guns, buy more ammunition. My life's been totally interrupted. Ain't nothing solved. So if we got the best investigation under camera both times, there's not a single arrest. So do they show up? Yeah. I mean, so I've got confidence they'll show up, but if they would solve crimes, I'd have probably never came to a meeting. I would have never put signs on my front yard. I wouldn't be calling and trying to get public records requests and understanding how is this town running. And I'm with him, with grants. I've asked her to do CRA. If we had CRA grant funds, we would have to have code. People would have to, they would have to do their job. We could get a designated code guy. Downtown wouldn't look like it looks. Shipley looked like that, but now look at it. We put lipstick on a pig. We've got revenue. We've got full to the stack businesses. We've got liquor, all kind of jig joints, more police cars, more patrols, more equipment. I watch those meetings, and that chief's up there saying, we got more grant money. We've got more services, more people coming, more pay. We need backup cars because they wreck them. So I see what grant money does.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I got just a couple of simple questions. Are we doing this because it's easy or because it's right? In the world that Rod and I live in, I'm sure you operate by the same rules. The difficult we do immediately. The impossible takes just a little bit longer. We don't give up, we don't quit, we don't give out till we figure it out. When we figure it out and solve the problem, that's when we go home. Rod, is that not the way we operate?
Yes.
So
We have to make tough business decisions, we do.
we come from the private sector. We're not in municipality. Don't know anything about it. I don't care anything about red columns, green columns, pink columns. As citizens, are you guys, the 8 of y'all, doing your job? Are you doing your job for the best of the citizen of Graceville? If you can convince me of that, I'm fine with it. I was in a meeting in the hallway at Campbellton Graceville Hospital several years ago, and I had to explain to the people we had to shut that hospital down because we couldn't afford to operate it. We're losing $400,000 a month. That won't math out no matter how you do it. But there's a hybrid way to integrate that with the people that took it over to make sure we have health care in town. And if you go to Northwest Florida Community Hospital, at this point in time, what faces do you see? Same ones that worked at Campbellton Graceville Hospital when it was in operation. Because that deal was brokered with those. If we're going to work this deal, you got to hire our people. We want to see the same faces in our health care. We want to see the same faces at our clinic in town. I'm not saying we can't do this on a hybrid situation, or whatever. I'm open for any suggestion, but we do not take the easy route.
Amen.
We do what's right. Because remember, each one of y'all gonna have to look us in the face. And if I know whether I win or lose, you did everything you can do to do what's right, I'll shake your hand and say thank you. Because you've done your job. So I think it's time to roll your sleeves up, hunker down, and find a way to make chicken salad out of fried chicken food. So let's get at it, boys.
Is that it?
When we look at salaries, do we consider stuff such as like $39,800 for the minimum paid employee at the police department? Now you look at $180,000 of retirement and medical insurance combined, which translates to a little over $25,000 if you split that 7 ways between 7 employees. So now that $40,000 employee becomes $65,000 employee. So is it really a problem of money? In addition to the benefits of retirement and medical insurance, we're going to Graceville City Bingo and pulling security at night. 4 nights a week for $240. Southside Bingo's $160 a day times 7 days a week. So the Graceville Police Department is being compensated by over $100,000 to pull security at bingo, which if you split that 7 ways is an additional $14,000 per employee. So now that $40,000 employee has become a 65 due to retirement and insurance, plus another $14,000 in bingo money, takes that employee from $65,000 to $79,000. Is it really a problem of money in Graceville?
Question, Michelle, that money doesn't filter through the city when they do security detail, does it?
Detail money does not.
Vehicles are running basically 44 hours a week. Is the city being compensated for that 44 hours? 11 days, 7 there and 4 down here. 4 hours of time, that's 44 hours a week that patrol cars are sitting there idling. Who's paying for that gas? Is that not a benefit for being an officer in the city of Graceville?
Good point.
Detail money does not run through the city. It does not run through the payroll system. That is up to the vendors that have procured their services to compensate them.
If somebody is shot at bingo because they're foolish and that security officer got to get out while he's in a patrol car, is the city liable for that person that got shot? You know, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm all for law enforcement. Some of the closest friends I've got are law enforcement. But like Dr. Nichols said, you've got to do what's right. If the money's there, the money's there. If the money ain't there, you can't do it. You know, like I say, I don't think it's a thing as far as salary. When you look at your 40 base pay, 25,000 in benefits, and another 14,000 for bingo, that's 79,000 for the low man on the totem pole.
I don't live in the city, but the city is my interest. So, is that budget on the 3%, is that included in the 7 police officers or 5?
The yellow option, the yellow, column is 3% and 7 officers.
If you, cut back, you know, like do the 5, that's all you got right now, the 5. And 3 to 2. And it'd be bringing closer to 400,000, be the sheriff's office, be charging you, you might make it work that way or pretty close. And that way we keep, it's always, as far as I can remember back, when I was a little boy, there's always been a police in Graceville. It might not have been stout, heavy, There's always been police. And, with the police department being in Graceville, if the sheriff department's over here, they get a call way off, something major, they all gonna probably take off. And I ain't saying they won't come back, and I ain't saying they're gonna wanna not try to do what they can for them. If you have the police right here, and cause I went to a house one day to do some electrical work, and they give me a code to get in the house, right around on Cooper Street. And get in the house, and I hit the code, but I missed the wrong number, and the alarm went off. And by the time I refigured and got it cut off, and I went around the corner, I was meeting the city policeman coming around the corner.
We got you, Commissioner.
You're laughing at me, you know, but I mean, that's what kind of service they got, it was down then, I mean, I reckon it called in the dispatch or whatever, and they sent them right around. But it's important if we could try somehow or another to keep your police department. You know, it's been here for, I mean, it's like, something that's just been here for a long time. And if there's any way you can keep it, even if you had to drop off another, say an employee left, policeman, you know, then don't replace it until you can do better. At least you do have somebody around. And like I think the chief was talking about, if there's a heavy thing between 7 and 12 at night, maybe everybody's asleep from their own, you might have to take off. You know, it won't be as much, but another thing is, people are moving down, and I'm sure we all want people, the city to grow. And people coming in, and the first thing they're looking at is what kind of security you got. They look at the police department, what kind of school you got, and they look at all that. But if you don't have a police department, even though you got a sheriff's department, they in their mind saying, you know, that could be like part temporary, you know. They go and come, and like I said, never be the same officer coming. He may not know where everybody lives. These policemen don't have to have an address. They go straight to your house, you know, when the call comes in, if they know that they give them the name. And so I think that makes faster service that way. And it may be you had to go with the sheriff, but try, like Chris was talking about, do everything you can to not do that unless you have to.
Don't you reckon you could help us out in the county a little bit?
If I can, I will. Thank you.
I've heard several people ask about grants. Is that something that's available? I didn't hear anybody answer that.
I can't say that for sure, but it's worth checking out. There may be something out there, I don't know. I know the county gets some grants. I even talked with them, if there's any way they can look into that.
Is there any input from the board about the grants?
She gonna research on it. Me personally, I think we need our police officer. I think some kind of way to make it work, because years ago I had the chief Horton came to my rescue. I know that being a regular sheriff police officer, they not personal. So, but all of us here in town, personal. And like Graceville said, they know you. So they come straight to the government that you get to. And like I said, a lot of business here, a lot of elder people here. I'm all for keeping the department. We could get down and work some out, some kind of way to meet everybody's needs, like to make things work out. I think we can. Like I said, we gotta work hard, we gotta sacrifice some things, maybe we could. But we definitely need our police department.
Jake, you have something to say? You have something to say?
I've seen this operation go in another city. And it's going the same way that city went. They brought in the county sheriff's department. They originally brought in 2 deputies. Well, within 2 years, the county sheriff's department was running the city.
They didn't have a commission,
City manager.
yeah, they had a mayor and a commission. The wind up of the whole thing was the people of that county did not want the sheriff's department running the city. So what did they do? When it came up for election, they voted every commission out of office, including the mayor, and brought in a new police department. It had nothing to do with the commissioners or the manager. It had to do with what the people wanted. The people in this county, in this town, don't want the county sheriff's department running. What you should do is work with the chief of police, the manager, and the commissioners, and come up with a problem, even if you have to raise taxes. I would be willing to pay taxes to keep the police department like it is. That's all I got to say.
I just want to say something real quick. How many people in here would love to see the sheriff department take over to patrol the city?
Oh, there's your answer.
There's one, right?
There was one total hand up.
I have no problem with it either way, as long as we're manned.
Yeah.
Whether we go with that green column, I have no problem either way, as long as we're manned.
Right.
That green column, from my understanding, guarantees us a deputy 24 hours a day for $400,000 less money a year.
Mr. Mayor, what kind of,
300,000, whatever.
let people understand what kind of tax increase are you talking about to keep the police department? No, I'm talking about here.
Well, there's been a fair amount of time, energy, and research put into this, and I know nobody likes paperwork and documentation, but, we all do need to understand where we are here today. And to your point, whatever option that y'all as a community direct the commission and therefore direct staff is what we're gonna do. And so whatever option is chosen, that's what either has to be funded, or the decreases in that budget, or then they have to be reallocated to some other line item such as paving, or economic development, or whatever the case may be. But we really cannot develop a budget per se until we know what we're gonna do.
How will it be determined which option is the vote?
You mean, these four options
Yeah,
are.
I know that, but which one of them are we gonna use? You can't use all four of them, but.
That's correct. And that's kind of why we're here tonight. Chris Jernigan hit on something that, we are all trying to do the right thing here. That's why we're here talking about this and discussing this as a community. And I have to tell y'all, I'm very thankful and pleased at how respectful we as staff, employees, commissioners, and the public has treated this process, because it's a serious process. But that's the reason that we are all here tonight, Mr. Armstrong, is to discuss this, not even necessarily to make a decision tonight, but make no mistake, a decision will have to be made.
And when will that be?
I need to get a budget put together within the next 10 days.
So are you gonna have a workshop to come up with a plan?
That's something that we need to discuss, is scheduling another meeting where y'all have time to communicate with your commissioners. And then you can communicate with them right now, whatever the case may be, so that they can come back and make an informed decision, say, next week.
So we're talking about this needing to be done by next week.
Well, we need to have a decision as it relates to which option we're going to take so that we can move forward with balancing the budget.
Because we won't start the budget process until later. This is a big, this needs to be.
Yeah, I understand that, but what Michelle just said was that we need to have that option set by next week. So in reality, this issue has got to be resolved between now and next week.
Is there gonna be a city vote? Is it gonna be up to the public?
There will be a commission vote.
So the people have to say.
I don't usually speak because I'm the newspaper and I've dealt with retaliation for speaking out. So instead, I go live so people can see what's going on. However, I'm exhausted today because I couldn't even get my paper to print because of the amount of people coming into my office and calling. Half of them mad at me because they don't feel like I'm being transparent enough. So this is all I have to say. I have immense respect for you. My husband, you were the best business in the world in his opinion. I was best friends with your daughter in high school. However, I agree with Chris Jernigan, which is a very rare thing. I think it's what is right. And the fact that y'all can sit here, and I don't know if the salary study going around online is correct. I've had it sent to me a dozen times. But if it is correct, and you have officers that are making less than people that are in offices and on the streets and not putting their lives in danger, then I'm sorry, shame on every single one of you. David Clark has been with the department for over 20 years, and he does not even make what someone who's been here for 4 years makes. And let me tell you, I have watched him put himself in danger. I am the biggest critic on Chief Bartley, but it still don't make sense. And Shane Williams, I will be the biggest critic on him. But again, the fact that he makes 60 cents more than one employee who's in an office and 40 cents less than another, and he carries a badge and has to go into homes where he may get shot. That's shame on y'all. They deserve better. Their families deserve better. Bonifay tried to do this, and it was a joke, and it didn't happen. Chipley, anywhere, Sneed, look them up, get their budgets, and they will all tell you. The problem is, we are not putting money toward the people that are protecting us. I don't care about anybody else getting a raise, besides them men, because they should have never been at $19 an hour. They could die tonight, and they deserve better. When my mother had a heart attack, Jackson County Fire and Rescue took an hour to get there. Graceville PD was there, fanning her. Breathe, hey, breathe. Same with the Graceville Fire Department. And I'm sorry, but county dispatch, I like on Enfield, but county dispatch is a joke. I will go to Hardee's and find one of these cops and tell them where something's happening because dispatch don't know Graceville. They'll ask where a mile marker is. Y'all know where a mile marker is in Graceville? No. So, we've already seen this past year that dispatch does not work. But every single one of the men deserve an apology from y'all. Because there is no sense if that salary study is correct, that they make as low as what they do. I don't care how much bingo money they get. They put their lives at risk every single day. And they're not even making half of what other people do who are not carrying a gun and who are not going into these drug homes and into these, the freeway stabbing. We had a shooting across from the high school. Every single one of them deserve an apology, especially Shane Williams, David Parks, and the other officers that have been here forever. Because there's no reason their salaries are as low as they are. And that's just the facts. And I'm sorry, I hope I'm not retaliated against. I hope y'all aren't mad, but it breaks my heart. And they deserve better.
I agree with you. But the problem is this. In order to do what you just said, I'd like to do that too. I'm all about it. But it's going to cost us $1 million to do that.
No, it ain't. Get rid of whatever you got to get rid of.
That's easily said.
Employees
That's
to
easily
make
said.
sure that they are taken care of.
Because on a different day and a different crew, it would come when you start trying to cut that. You're just not,
I mean,
Cut some
it's an
administrative.
emotional plea.
At the end of the day, when you are shot at and you can't get a deputy, you will change your mind.
But it costs money. We're trying to determine how we can come up with the money to be able to do it.
So what could be cut out administrative? No comment, didn't think so.
I ain't gonna take up much of your time, but I just wanna say, I've been affiliated with the Graceville Police Department and the Fire Department for 35 years. And it's very critical that we can do, or find out whatever we can do. I just wanna say a couple of minutes. I know that these guys back here, if they, I think it's a C-zone deputy that patrols from Graceville on out, okay? Say, for instance, in another zone, they need to clear a house, and that C-zone deputy is close by, that's who's gonna go to it, okay? Or did that happen? If that happens, and we have a physical altercation outside the city limits of Graceville, the county depends on Graceville to show up to take care of the situation until they get there. And here, about a month or so ago, me and Laycox and another one of the police officers, I was coming into town from work, and they had a code 4. That means not breathing, the lady's dying. So I seen them pull in there. I went in there, we in there doing CPR. They was the first responders there to help that lady. Unfortunately, she had passed on, but I'm just telling you right now, they are very, very, we need them. And we need to do whatever we have to do, property taxes, whatever we can do, we need to find out a way to make this, get this straightened out. And I love my community, and I love all these guys and the fire department, and they're just awesome. And we don't need to lose them.
Okay, so what I've been hearing is, we need to keep the police department. And not
Can I
only-
say something real quick
Yes,
before
go
you do? Every one of y'all were put on this board by the city of Graceville, by the people in this community. That means you vote according to what you hear.
Right.
Not how you feel, not what you want.
Right.
Because you're one person in this community, so when you do vote, or whatever you decide, remember, you're not voting for what you want. You're voting for what this community wants and feels that this community needs. So keep that in your mind when you go to do that, because sometimes we tend to forget that.
I feel like the community wants our police to stay.
Yes.
And I feel with them.
Can I say something? But the thing of it is but the thing of it is, I think the majority of people wanted to stay, but what we got to figure out, how they gonna stay, which one of these choices we make.
Well, didn't all this start over because they asked for a 9% raise instead of a 3% raise? Why don't we just go with a 3% raise, and then there's your problem? That's what started the whole thing, is cause Jake asked for a 9% raise. And the whole city is getting a 3% raise. So that's what started the ball rolling, is asking for 9%. So if everybody's getting a 3% raise, and them two ladies sitting right up there makes more money than anybody in this city. And and they make a lot of money. They make more than any officer here or anybody else in the city. So, there's places to be cut. And like you got $2,500 for a building repair. Next year, $4,000. Well, the building's going to be repaired no matter who is over there. If a county man's sitting over there, ain't the building still gonna have to be repaired? Yes.
Seems like there's a big gap between blue and yellow. You didn't have one thing, you could go from 7 to 5, but about 6 officers, they don't get their 9%, they don't get 3, they get somewhere in the middle. Seems like there's a gap that you can find in the middle.
Well, just do the 3% across the board.
What's Donnie benefiting off of this?
He don't benefit the county.
Has this been proposed to the sheriff?
He doesn't
Has-
say that.
Has this been proposed, and what is his comment on it?
I have no idea.
So that-
Tim?
A lot of guys already talked over 3 minutes. I'm only gonna get 3 minutes, but please don't stop the clock till I start talking. Please don't jump in and try to use up my time. That's 3-minute rule. They call it the Wellborn rule. That's when it starts. Full disclosure, me and Michelle do not get along. She sued me. She lost in the state, she lost in the county, she lost in the judge. She sued the city, but I was the #1 defendant in that city. She lied 3 times in her deposition. She lied 3 times, and Kayla lied 4. Said I stopped it. Full deposition, we don't get wrong, okay? But that has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say is the truth. It got me in trouble with both sides, probably gonna get me in trouble this side. Lord, the retaliation is gonna be brutal. But everything in the dark comes to light. Jesus is the light. And today I'm his representative. And I'm fixing to bring the truth to them. They do make more money than the cops, okay? This thing about we can't give a raise, that's a lie, because I found out, and I don't know if it's still going on, but after you get the 3%, they go back and give more. That's how Kayla got $8,000 one year.
She got 10.
That's how the inspector got another $15,000. So to say you can't do it, they have done it. That's a lie. That's lie #1. The problem we have here is not really whether the police department can be funded or not. We need a police. I'm very pro-police. Been police, been corrections, police representative in the police union. I love police. We need them, okay? The problem here is the management. And you guys are complicit in that. Because you voted her in at 3 minutes and 9 seconds, and you didn't take that lawyer that was sitting in the back that wanted to interview that you advertised that would have been a much better manager in my opinion. He was a friggin' lawyer. And I believe his specialty was administration. But you passed him over and left him there mad and voted her in. You took a vote when you advertised to be an interview. You cut that down. I was there, his brother there, and he was there. And you voted her in 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And then you wouldn't let the public speak. You gaveled down, and you wouldn't let me speak. Because I was going to bring out a lot of stuff. As far as grants go, she was given the opportunity to get a $360,000 grant, I believe, for the fire department. She was notified. I have the paperwork. Everything I'm telling you is in writing, okay? All right? And they never sued me because they know it's true, because you can't sue me for deposition because I have it in writing. She had a chance to get a $360,000 grant. She wouldn't get it for the fire department. The fire chief came and told me. And then I told the mayor, not this one, and he looked into it and it was true and we managed to get it. But she was notified and she didn't bother to follow up on it. That was $360,000 free money. The police chief, he did the same way. It was advertised for an interview and you were on the committee. I got the notes from the committee meeting. You were on the committee. Rather than do the interview, because it's not, yeah, well, we get that 3 minutes fast. Anybody wants to hear the rest of the story, call me. Okay, I'll tell you. You know what you need to do? You need to go back and do the right thing that you advertised. Advertise this position and chief's position and do an interview. That's what you need to do. This is your problem.
So what's the answer? Does this benefit Donnie?
Donnie, what's the sheriff? Does it benefit the sheriff? Well, he's the leader, is he not? Is he in charge? Is there a problem?
Yes.
How'd you know he don't like Donald?
Oh no, that's because
He's in charge. Is there a problem?
And he's in a lawsuit indicted right now with the FBI for fraud.
What about the police department's revenue?
No, to really come up with a solution.
I think we need to continue to hear. We had this, get data, get it out to the public, to listen. We've done that tonight. I think we need to continue to do that on an individual basis and come back next Tuesday and make a decision. Work with Michelle. It's easy to talk about what somebody makes. It's easy. But I'm telling you, you're not gonna find a city manager that's capable, that's gonna come here and do this for less than this kind of money. This is ridiculous.
Does it
Say
seem
that.
like she's capable?
Now, when she came in, she might not have been the most experienced one, and I know you have a vendetta, sir, I know you have a vendetta against Donnie, it's obvious from the signs that are out there.
Yep.
With that doesn't need to enter into what we're trying to do here. We are trying to be peaceable. She's doing her job, and I stand behind her. I stand behind her. I stand behind everybody in that office because they're doing their job. They're getting these numbers together. They don't wanna see it go away. We gotta find a way to pay for it. And it's as simple as that. Now, what we can do is we can listen, you call, you text, you do whatever you have to do, and you let us hear what your recommendation is. Help us figure out this thing. But I'm telling you, it's gonna come down to the fact that we're gonna have to pay for it. Now, there are those that are talking about the quality, and amongst all this on here, the quality, and they have a lot of beefs with the police department. They're not gonna come, and they said they're not gonna come. There's a bunch of people out there that are not here tonight that say, hey, I'd like to do away with the whole thing based on, I was like, well, it's not about that. We're looking at the numbers. It is a situation where we need to listen to everybody. When this meeting's over with, we'll get a smattering of everybody that calls. Let's listen, let's come back together, and let's, we can have a little bit more of a hearing when we come back, and then we can make a decision. But
Got another people on the
we don't have to make that decision next Tuesday if we meet next Tuesday. So I'd make a motion that we.
You got two people that want to talk. You said public.
Give me just a second. Give me just a second. I think we need to make a motion to either extend this meeting to what's the word? Stop.
Do I have a second?
Shouldn't you wait for the motion until after the public is finished speaking?
Recess the meeting until Tuesday night.
And then we'll have to advertise another meeting.
I recommend, I make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we recess this meeting and continue it at 5:30 next Tuesday, and advertise it and let everybody continue to talk, and then we can talk to them between now and then. I'm interested in solutions. I'm all for keeping the police department. We're gonna have a police department, it needs to be the best one that there is. And if we need to pay them if we can pay them. If not, there's a better thing out there, then that's what I want for citizens of Graceville.
I was like, I think it was the lady, I think it was her, why they can't just do the 3%? Just be done with it. I mean, that's how I feel, just do the 3%, right?
That's fine with the chief?
And you don't, the man just said, long as he keep his job.
Well,
He said, long as he keep his job, and I like that. You looking like, you don't care, long as
So
you
what
keep your
is
job.
what's the commission?
Yeah, that's it, I agree with you all. I've been living here in Graceville, I've been living here 62 years, I agree with you.
Since I want them to stay in, I want to stay,
3%.
so I'd rather do 3%.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so to qualify, because this is important, let's all agree this is important.
The red column, that's what I just heard.
Okay, so just understand that that is at a 5-officer staffing level.
And I confirm that, that's why I asked you that. He said he was thankful he's keeping his job, and was he okay with 5? And he said yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why I based my second on that this is keep the police department 5 officers as are currently staffed, and everybody gets 3%.
May I ask a question? So we're gonna be dependent upon the sheriff's office between 11 and 7, that can't even do that correctly. Am I understanding that correct?
It'll just stay like it is.
No, it's gonna stay like it is.
So,
We don't-
y'all said the
You
red.
just said the red
says
column.
the sheriff's office would assume 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
No, it's gonna be the regular, like
He can't do it
Made
by
out, that's
himself.
not gonna continue with the 3%.
Hey, chief, so now, before we can go on with this, we keep everything just like it is now, except delete one of the positions we have, instead of having 7, put 6. Is that okay with you?
What's the economic impact?
6 officers.
What's the number?
We
You don't have that
We
here.
can't make a decision on this because we don't have the numbers on this. You figure out the direction that you wanna know, you can't know, the idea is to get the numbers for this, so we can figure, that's what we're trying to do, figure out how we're gonna pay
Okay,
for
so,
this.
okay, so let's talk about this real quick. So at this point, do you want for us to work up numbers to bring back Tuesday night for 5 officers covering as they are right now? Hold on just a second, 5 officers covering as they are right now with the 3%, and then 6 officers with 3%, and y'all make a decision next Tuesday.
I'll be out of the country.
We're waiting for follow 3%.
Yeah, everybody is looking for this.
Okay, so then, let's do this, let's look at how many else's raises are contingent on that. The police
Do we have the early
department's
before that?
Another raise out, yes, we
You have the 5:30?
start with people that work out the sun. We've got planning commission and regular commission on the 12th. Because of the planning commission hearing that has to be held. So we can do it on Monday, the 11th, or Thursday, the 14th.
Order, please.
Okay, so Monday the 11th, 2025, 5:30, we will bring back the numbers that y'all have requested of us. Is there any other number or anything else that you want for us to?
Can I ask a question real quick? So that doesn't involve any county people, right?
No.
Correct.
Keep it on regular.
The 5 people don't?
We're gonna do 5 to 6. 5 to 6.
They're gonna figure 5 and 6.
There's 5 people on that count, from 11 to 7 with the county?
No, the county won't be involved.
No, they won't be involved.
You can do it with 5 people?
He is doing it with Bob. That's all we have, right? That's all we got right now.
It's a stretch.
That's why we're gonna try to add 6.
3%.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I have this clear. So if they get a 3% raise, these men that are risking their lives are still going to be making less than over half of the employees that don't risk their lives. Am I correct on that understanding? I just wanna make sure. So they will still be some of the lowest paid employees, even though they risk their lives.
What we're doing right now is just trying to.
That's all, that was a great clarification. Thank you, Mr. McClendon.
Okay, that's it.
Any other public comments?
Next meeting is when?
The next
If
one.
somebody's got the hand raised.
Somebody work on renegotiating insurance like they did in Bonifay and save thousands just by doing it like every quarter, every 6 months, and we try to save money there.
We're at the point of looking at health insurance with our providers and alternative plans. We just have to have, we just gotta have a number to get started with
When
here.
is the last time they were negotiating?
Last year,
Okay, can we get, can I do a public records request on that so I can see?
yes.
I'll send them.
So to clarify, Monday, the 11th, 5:30. Here is the next meeting, someone asked.
No, nobody mentioned it, but our homeowners insurance is gonna work up without a risk. It's already.
Yeah, that's
Start,
what- that's
everybody
what we
call
keep
your
it.
agents tomorrow and let them know, it's like not having a fire extinguisher in your neighborhood. Check your rates.
So. Meeting adjourned.